from the Wise News Network studios. It's Who Gives a Hoot number 6. And can y'all believe it's the number 6 Who Gives a Hoot?
Not really. When did we start them? Do either of you remember what?
Well, it's been less than a year.
It has been less than a year.
It was about the middle of the year, or maybe late spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've averaged about one a month, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and definitely let us know if you guys are enjoying these.
And we want to put a disclaimer in that we're not lawyers. We do not give legal advice. We do not give financial advice. So whatever we talk about in the Who Gives a Hoot is sort of our opinion on things and just general conversation. So we really appreciate everyone watching and appreciate everyone give us news tips. And one thing I would like to talk about, if you want us to cover an event, please send us an email at newsdesk@wisenewsnetwork.com, because we cannot read minds. We look at social media, but there's sometimes events that we may not know about, and it might be in our backyard, and we can't cover everything, but we may start doing bulletins, some graphics, and put some events out there and let everyone know, but you have to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
And also on that subject, if you have a little bit of trouble remembering our email, or you don't have an email to email us from, there is a portal on our website, wisenewsnetwork.com, at the very bottom, that you can send us an email through like that. So don't be afraid to send us something.
But we really appreciate all the thousands of people that are watching. I know our website has had literally thousands and thousands of people going through our website, and we've not bombarded you with ads yet. If you go to any other news network site, they will bombard you with ads, and we're trying not to do that. So we have merch. There you go. We got T-shirts, hats, microphone, a sticker. We have a holiday bundle. You get all of this for a sale price. So if you don't want to see a bunch of ads, please buy our merch.
Definitely support your local news, Wise News Network, with the merch. Like Rusty said, we have so many things to choose from, and it's great quality. So definitely support.
Yeah, the hat, the shirt, this logo's on the front and the back of the shirts. So that's pretty cool. Nice gilded shirts, a hat. And like I say, help us out a little bit and wear it and show it, and where we don't have to bombard you with a bunch of ads. Now, YouTube might show you some ads if you're not a premium subscriber, so we don't control the YouTube ads, but we don't really want to bombard you with a bunch of ads.
No, one of Rusty's biggest pet peeves is going on a news network website and seeing all the pop-up ads. We definitely aren't trying to be like that.
No, that drives me crazy. I'm trying to read an article and I get bombarded with ads, and it's like, come on, man.
So annoying.
And from doing the market research, it's kind of absurd. They're probably making, like, every time you click on one of those news articles like that, they're probably making like $5 to $6 every time you just open the article with that many ads.
Well, more power to them. I mean, every business has to generate income, and I think the newspaper especially, they're just not selling newspapers anymore, so they're having to generate business. But even though our companies advertise, I just do not like to be bombarded with a bunch of ads, especially when they pop up, right? And there's paywalls and stuff, and it drives me crazy. So our viewers, we're trying to be ad-free as much as we can.
So if you like ad-free videos, definitely check out our merch.
Yeah, go to our website, holiday special bundle, check it out. Now, we've got a lot to cover today.
Yes,
It's been probably a little over a month. I think right before Halloween, we had our Who Gives a Hoot number 5.
Last time y'all saw us all together, we were owls. So it's definitely probably quite a change seeing our faces again.
Well, we're coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Oh, we should have been turkeys.
Yeah, there you go. Some people may call us that. I don't know. But anyway, I ate too much, and it was a good holiday.
Mm-hmm. Me as well.
Yep. So and it's finally cold now. It's not 85 degrees in November, which was weird. But now it was 18 last night, so it's cold.
It was 24 this morning.
Wow. Yeah, it was 18 at my house. So, Cherryville, North Carolina elections. Janice Hovis defeated Malcolm Parker for Ward 4. And we were accused of hijacking the election or orchestrating the election, and we did not.
No.
We did not rig the ballot machines. We did not do any of that. We did ask Malcolm to come and interview, and I was out of town, so you guys can speak to that.
Yes. So with the elections coming up, we knew that we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to put out content highlighting the campaign platforms of both of the people who were running for the Ward 4 seat, which was Janice Hovis and incumbent Malcolm Parker. He has been in office for a very long time, and Janice also had some experience as city manager and working in various positions of Cherryville's city government, and they both were, I would say, qualified candidates. They both honestly had similar running points. I think that there was a little bit of maybe confusion on behalf of incumbent councilperson Malcolm Parker about what the interview was going to be, because my plan was to just ask them both the exact same questions. It is my goal as a journalist to not give one candidate more airtime or more of an advantage than the other one. And so I was just going to interview them and ask them both the exact same questions. Mr. Parker did decline the interview, which is totally fine. You know, that is 100% within his right. But I think that the content we did put out, the video that we did put out, and the article that we did put out definitely got a lot of traction, and it definitely got Janice's name out there. I'm not going to say that our article by any means is the reason why she got elected, because I don't think that it is. I think that maybe people were ready to see some change, and this was the only position that had any opposition to it. All the other candidates that you were able to vote for were running unopposed. So I think people were just maybe ready to see some change. I have not been in town very long, so, you know, just from what I've gathered, I believe Councilperson Malcolm Parker has done a great job with his past 12 years that he's been in office. But it's normal in a democratic process to run, to have a term, and then for that term to come to an end. And it's very natural, and I'm excited to see what Councilperson Janice Hovis does with her next few years in office.
Yes, and she also touched on some pretty talked about topics such as budget. Yeah. She did note that this is one of her specialties and that she's looking forward to really diving into the budget and not only finding out where the money's coming from, but where funds are going. So,
yeah, on that point, she was talking about how that's like her specialty from being the city manager for so long. And hopefully we see some changes in the city budget. I mean, I know in the past couple of years, some of the stuff that Rusty's brought up to the city council has pushed some things along that need to be pushed, but someone making sure all the funds are in the right place. I mean, I know they are right now. I can't say that they're not, but just that would give me extra security knowing that someone else has went in and checked behind them and made sure everything's good, especially someone with lots of experience in doing it. Somewhere else go.
Well, as far as derogatory remarks, well, you guys were going to do the interview, and then you guys waited, I think, 2 days for Malcolm, and finally said he couldn't do it. Then he put out his own video, which was fine, but said I was making derogatory remarks at Malcolm. And Malcolm asked right after they voted to, reject all bids. I think he came up to me and said, "I want your vote." And I said, "Malcolm, I can't vote for you because Malcolm promised he would not vote to sell that museum building." And he told me that to my face and said he had never really actually met Patrick O'Leary or never even seen Patrick in his restaurant up until the museum event came up. So, and he said, "No, I won't. I'll never vote." And then he was the main spokesman that was reading off pre-written notes to say about the museum sale. So I said, "No, Malcolm, I can't vote for you because," I said, "you changed your mind. You flipped just like that." And I said, "I would save my money because I don't think you can beat Janice." and I really didn't think he could. And I think the biggest thing that I think people don't understand, that the museum, a lot of people were against the sale of the museum.
Yeah.
And whether they said it vocally or not, just the temperature I took out in the community was, don't sell that museum, or at least keep it the museum. And so he chose to go on selling the museum, and actually that's what cost him the election. I think. That's my opinion.
I mean, I also think people kind of saw, talking about the derogatory remark thing, what they were doing in that video they put out, because it's around the same amount of viewership in the one that we made for Janice and then the rebuttal Malcolm made for it. And I know it personally rubbed us the wrong way a little bit that they used our interview questions. So probably...
Honestly, I'm glad that they used our interview questions so that the same questions were answered all across the board. You know, I think that ultimately, did I spend time carefully curating questions that I felt would highlight both of these candidates' strengths? Absolutely. And ultimately, those questions still did, because his rebuttal or his video in conjunction with the video that we posted ultimately ended up answering a lot of those questions that the people of Cherryville want to know. You know,
disregarding one topic.
Yeah. That's just how I feel about the matter. You know, I wasn't personally hurt by his decision. You know, we're all grown-ups and we all make our decisions.
Yeah, you know, fake news, they call us fake news. That means they're watching.
Yeah.
Keep watching. If you call us fake news, it means apparently you're watching, so appreciate you watching.
We've been called a few things.
But yeah, and then the museum sale itself, since we were talking about that, you know, they basically scrapped the sale and gave Cherryville Downtown LLC, or Main Street LLC, its earnest money or deposit back. And so they basically canceled the sale. So they're back where they started a year ago. And it's just bizarre. It's just the bid process was a bizarre fiasco. It was. It just was. And now they're back where they started.
Back where they started, and also it leaves the question, you know, because the museum was given the ultimate, they had to leave, you know, December 31st, I think it was. So do they have to leave, or
Yes.
can they stay? That,
Legally, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, yes, they're supposed to be out December 31st, but I don't know with the lawsuit hanging in the balance. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't.
The thing that messes it all up, I guess, well, not necessarily messes it up, but the thing that makes it so confusing is the lawsuit that was happening with the museum. It was dismissed without prejudice. So what that means is it was dismissed on the behalf of the plaintiffs, also known as the Cherryville Historical Association. And if you dismiss something without prejudice, you still have the ability to correct any errors that were made in the original filing of the lawsuit, and you have the opportunity to then refile your lawsuit. Nothing has happened on that front yet. However, there is still what's called a lis pendens on the property, which is basically a clouded title. And it's my understanding that that is why Cherryville Main Street LLC ended up backing out of the sale, because they were unable to obtain title insurance. And another interesting aspect about this whole lawsuit and this whole museum situation is each member of the Cherryville City Council was named as an individual in the lawsuit, including the city manager. Since they are named as individuals, there are now clouds on all of their names. If any of them were to try and sell their houses, it's my understanding that they would not even be able to do so. So the whole thing is just really kind of a sticky situation because of this clouded title and the lis pendens. But I believe lis pendens is up and no longer a factor 6 months after the initial filing. I believe the lawsuit was filed in August, early August or late August, and then they have 6 months from that day before the clouds are cleared.
Yeah, and there's been some negotiations between the Museum Association and the city. And it's my understanding from what I saw that the city had drawn up some conditions that they were going to pay the utilities for the museum for 10 years and pay up to a certain amount on the lease if there was a lease drawn up that they had to pay. But Cherryville Main Street LLC would not produce a lease for 10 years. So they never would sign a lease for the museum. And it's my understanding, had that to happen, that the current board, Al, and the current board was just going to walk away, but they never could obtain that lease. So that's where it stands now. They may still get it all worked out. I don't know. Right now, it's a building that's off the market, and I think the best thing for Cherryville is that it stays the museum, and the restaurant's coming. It's going, 2 doors down, and originally that's where the restaurant was going. And from a building standpoint, I could only imagine trying to turn that place into a restaurant.
I can't even imagine. And it's such a beautiful building as well. We've all had opportunities to tour it and see all the amazing artifacts, and the history in the building itself is just so profound. You go into the basement and you see where inmates had carved their names into the sides of the prison. There's the court bar upstairs. I mean, it's a really, truly beautiful building, and I hope that the city is able to keep it and maintain it with it still intact as a museum. We'll see what happens. Surprising, I know, but this is still an ongoing story.
It's been going on for a year. Almost.
For a year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were shooting some film up there in December, and that's when
it all
the
started.
fall to the winters when they were trying to get something worked out. So
Maybe we should do a museum fiasco anniversary video where we
that
just
may be a
recap.
good idea.
I don't know. One council member said he didn't like the word fiasco. I said, "What else do you call it?" I mean, I just came up with that word. I can call it a cluster. I can call it whatever you want to call it. I mean, it was just interesting. So anyway, it's off the table. I think if a man wanted it bad enough, he would have hung on in there for a couple more months, let the lawyers get it worked out. Because actually, Cherryville's new lawyer mentioned that they did not have to release O'Leary from that contract. That they could have said, no, let's see how it gets worked out with the lawyers. But he said, no, I don't want it now. I want his money back. So this is the man that outbid himself. I mean, it was $263, and he outbid himself and run it up to $400,000 on his own. It was kind of bizarre.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting situation.
We'll see what happens after December 31st anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
The only thing I can say towards December 31st thing is the museum members seem convinced that they're still going to try and get the museum moved out by then. So
yeah, I don't know. That's not the thing to do. I mean, the artifacts all should stay there. I mean, that's the best thing. Now, regardless of how the hierarchy or the new board members or whatever, that's just this whole deal has been about personalities getting involved.
yeah,
On both sides. It's been a spat, and it's just personalities.
Exactly.
Take those people out of the equation, and it would still be a museum.
I agree.
if there isn't a reason to say that the city can't have them not removed by then, because they have to wait till the end of the next month to physically remove them. But I think partially if they can't complete, maybe part of the idea here is if they can't complete the removal of all the artifacts, then it's just going to go back to the city as the owner of the building. And then they've got all the artifacts and they can just make a new board. Because then the old board doesn't, if the old board doesn't have the artifacts, then they're not really relevant.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they can do more with the museum. I don't know. Have wine and cheese night. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited about all the buildings getting fixed up downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they look good. The new bar and grill is coming. The Cherry Pit. What's it? 5 Spur.
Yes, the 5 Spur Steakhouse.
And,
Johnny
it's
Ray.
cool to have all this stuff coming.
And the Wild Chola's doing the sushi night thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Very exciting stuff happening.
So, and there's a lot, and I don't know how it's all going to work out. I know what the city and the citizens want. I don't know if the demographics quite support all of this right now. And that's what I was getting ready on. Next topic is the low income housing. They're bringing 120 units low income housing into Cherryville, which is fine, but you just lowered the average income of Cherryville by how many people are, what's the average in an apartment? They fit
In a
what, 2 or
family?
3? Or,
Yeah.
2 or 3.
So that'd be what, 300 to 500 people. And so the household income would be less, So we just, by bringing low income housing, which is fine, but you just lowered the average income of Cherryville.
We also have to consider that there are other developments also happening in the area too. I'm blanking on the names, but I believe
Cherryville.
Cherryville,
Stroop Acres. Strap Acres?
Stroop. They had a falling out years ago, and they had one added an E, and family's bad, I guess.
While we're talking about pronunciations, are we going to go over the Cherryville
God.
thing?
We might as well. Is it Chur-ville or is it Cherryville?
Go in the comments and vote or something, okay? Because my family has always taught me Cherryville. Rusty's is different, and we're both from here.
Well, you didn't say Chur-ville.
What did I say that time?
More Cherryville.
Okay.
Not the higher pitched Cherryville, but it's not Cherryville. See, I think the Cherryville came from a wad of tobacco in your mouth or something. Like my grandpa,
Possibly.
I could see my grandpa saying that because he had a wad of tobacco in his mouth and he'd Cherryville. That's how it got.
That would make sense.
I mean,
The only
really.
people I hear call it Cherryville are usually out of towners.
Well, yeah, that's funny because when I first moved to the area, this guy was at my apartment fixing my internet. He's like, "Oh, where do you work?" And I was like, "Oh, I work in Cherryville." And he laughs at me. And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "I can tell you're not from here." And I was like, "How? What gave me away?" He's like, "Well, you said Cherryville, and people around here mostly pronounce it Chur-ville." So that I tried to alternate between the two.
I mean, to be fair, though, I've also heard it pronounced so harshly. It's like Chur-ville. So
That's that tobacco in the mouth.
Yeah, that's the tobacco in the mouth right
Yeah, because you can't pronunciate with a wad of tobacco in your mouth. You can't pronunciate. I'm thinking that's where it came from. Maybe not. I don't know.
really might be it, though.
I think so.
I can see my grandpa doing that because he always had a big wad of.
I could definitely see
Tobacco,
that
yeah.
happening here. But please let us know in the comments. We'd love to know how you pronounce it or how it's properly supposed to be pronounced. And make sure you spell it right so we can tell what you're saying.
I can make a YouTube poll about it.
Yeah, but he chewed that tobacco where he cut it with a knife.
Oh.
That apple stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
God.
Yeah, I remember seeing he'd cut it with a knife. It wasn't this upgraded new stuff.
Upgrade is relative.
Yeah, but low income housing, it's going at the end of Academy over that way. And so that's going to be interesting with sidewalks. They have to start putting in a bunch of sidewalks. I mean, food lines, somebody's going to get killed at Food Line. I mean, there's a buggy at the side of the road. You see a Food Line buggy on the side of 150?
Yeah.
I mean, the people are walking up and down Highway 150
It's
going,
insane.
and somebody's going to get hurt.
Oh, yeah, especially at night because they're still walking up and down with no sidewalks.
Yeah.
And I've seen more and more people walking at night in Cherryville, too.
I have too.
And one of the biggest things that people consider when putting low-income housing in an area is the walkability of the area. And, you know, where we've talked about it before, where the place that this low-income housing is going, yes, it is close in distance to a lot of things that are going on downtown and just in the area, but are there sidewalks? Is it necessarily a nice walkable area? So,
Like, it would be extremely easy to access the Food Lion from where it's going if there were a connecting road in between them, but there's not. So,
If you walk through the woods or something.
yeah, through the woods over the railroad track.
I do think it's great though, because we're seeing a lot of people being a little bit more strapped with money, having a hard time finding housing. You know, one of the reasons why I live in Gastonia is because there was really no affordable housing in Cherryville when I first moved here. So I think that it could be great and it could encourage more people to move down here and be able to afford living in the area. And Cherryville is an awesome place to be. And so I think it's cool because everyone gets an opportunity to come. And experience living where life blossoms.
There you go.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Just
I
add
mean,
those
it's a-
sidewalks.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool small town. It really
It
is.
is.
It really is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. But Charlotte's coming this way.
Mhm.
Organically, it's growing. What stopped it is the Catawba River. And also what's stopped growth in Gaston County is the limited availability to sewer and water. Gaston County does not have a county sewer or water, and that will restrict growth.
Yeah. And then like with Cherryville, the one that's coming at the end of Requay, I know originally the plan was to make Requay a 3-lane road. No one on the road's a big fan of that. So there's a few restrictions in Cherryville just with the road quality and size and how close the houses are to the road. They're going to piss a lot of people off if they have to make the roads wider for these communities.
Yeah, and I don't know. The economy is going to dictate everything. The economy will dictate the restaurants. The economy will dictate the new housing. If the feds keep raising rates, I mean, it's scary that the feds can really cripple the economy if they want to by a fraction of a percentage. And so if they go up, if they keep going up with the housing mortgage rates, then nobody's going to be able to afford housing. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm not a big fan of government pushing anything on people. When the government gets involved in something, they generally screw it up. So when they try to get involved, especially in business and government don't go together. I mean, it's just too, common sense business and government's two different platforms.
Right.
And when you mix those two, some developments go great and some do not. And speaking of one that's up, and we're doing a story on it, is the Gastonia honey hunters. That's a great part, but that's just has not been handled good at all.
No, it's not.
Messy situation.
Yeah, very much so. We just received a statement about that the other day, and I think it's a shame because I think that the idea behind the park was a really great idea. Brought a lot of industry, brought a lot of people to come and visit Gastonia. I've been to a few Honey Hunters games myself, so they're very fun. And it's sad because the team actually performed very well in their division this year. And so for those of you who do not know, the Honey Hunters were let go by the Atlantic
League, I think.
The Atlantic Baseball League.
Yeah.
And their contract is also in process of being terminated by the city of Gastonia, just for a variety of reasons, mostly breach of contract. There are quite a few different aspects of their contract that they might not have followed through with. For example, naming rights 2 years in a row, and also maintenance. Part of the contract was that the team and the owners of the team had to maintain the stadium while they're using it and maintain the equipment within like the kitchens, within the whole facility. And on the annual inspection, apparently it was just completely left unkept. And, the quote from the lawsuit, they said that the way that the stadium had been kept and the maintenance was done so poorly that it's now even affecting like the performance of the equipment inside of like the kitchens. And this was a $26 million endeavor for the city. So it's very expensive. And obviously the city of Gastonia wants the people who are going to be utilizing this stadium to be utilizing it in the right way and keeping up with their contract.
But it's a situation, if you build it, they may not come. People say if they build it, they'll come.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the organization and how well it's marketed. And
Right.
there's a lot of strings attached with that.
Depends on what's coming.
Yeah, but it just depends.
Or what you're building.
But sometimes government kind of
Yeah.
pushes stuff a little too soon instead of letting businesses and economy organically
Naturally,
create something.
yeah.
Sometimes they push things.
I mean, back to the Cherryville issue with all of the restaurants that we're getting. I know a lot of people are happy about it. I would love to see some of the restaurants we're getting take off and do well, but it's even been brought up in the Cherryville Town Talk that the people are like, why are we getting so many restaurants at once?
I've seen that as well. There's some opposing folks out there.
Well, you're going to have to bring the majority of people will have to come from out of town
Mm-hmm.
for these restaurants. They have to come from out of town because the population density is just not there to support all the restaurants. And all these new businesses that come, I call it the 90-day window. They'll all do good for 90 days just because everyone will try.
Excited.
But after the 90 days, then, it's tough. I mean, Cherryville's a population of 6,200 or whatever it is, and it's tough to run a business in Cherryville. It really is. So you have to remember that. But the steakhouse, he's been in the restaurant business, so that helps. Sometimes I feel sorry for people that get talked into opening up a business, whether it's here or any town, Shelby, Lincoln, wherever, and they've never been in business before, and they kind of get talked into something, and then when the year lease is up, they're gone. So I just feel sorry for sometimes some of the business owners because I know they really want it to do well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And speaking of housing, you guys did a housing segment up in Morganton. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. Basically, I was just scrolling on Facebook one day looking for story ideas, and I stumbled across this article or a Facebook post that mentioned that Morganton schools were actively building or trying to build and convert an old elementary school building into affordable housing for teachers. And I just thought it was a really cool concept, really cool idea. They're taking this old elementary school building, Chesterfield Elementary School, that's been empty, I believe, since
2018, was it?
I believe so, yeah.
It was 2018.
And they're turning it into up to maybe even like 30 apartment rooms and buildings for upcoming teachers. And the reason why this was I think is so important right now, after COVID, we've been seeing a lot of seasoned teachers retire because COVID brought a lot of different struggles. Kids are struggling, educators are struggling, and it's making teachers who have been in the industry for a long time just ready to move on with the next phase of their life, settle down a little bit, retire if they can. And so Morganton and the people we spoke to, they said that the employment base is going to start becoming a lot younger, getting kids fresh out of college, ready to start their education career. However, they might not have the money to afford housing in Burke County because it's similar. Smaller towns, not a lot of affordable housing options that currently exist. So they're building or trying to build this project so that the younger education base will be able to have a place where they can live. I think it's great.
And the secondary thing that does is I started an education degree whenever I started college. And the first thing they warn you about whenever you go into education degree in North Carolina is that it's one of the worst paid salaries for teachers in the United States.
Yeah.
And that's true. I've not looked at it lately. 7 years ago, whenever I started, it was $29K a year.
I believe we're ranked number 46th of 50 states for teachers' starting salaries.
That we're still in the same rank pretty much then, but I don't know if the actual number has risen or not. But it makes it hard for young teachers because I've had a lot of friends that stayed in the education program. They don't live in North Carolina anymore.
Exactly.
They left because there was no reason for them to stay here unless they could either work for a charter school where their salary was not dictated by the government or a private school. So it does create an issue to where you can't get new teachers because they would rather move to another state.
But I notice other states are starting to provide teacher housing too. But should the government be getting into providing housing for workers? That's just a whole different, which I think it's a good idea. But where do you draw the line for all government workers?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who works for the government, do you get, housing provided? And I think if mortgages keep going up, you're going to see employers provide housing for their employees because the employees cannot afford houses. I mean, businesses cannot continue to raise their prices and just price everything out of business.
Right.
Whether it's a loaf of bread or bananas or whatever.
As I've said before, I'm pretty sure I'm one who gives a hoot. People in our age range over here, we're meant to lose $800 a month. That's
Yeah, and the banks want you to stay in debt.
Mm-hmm.
That $800, they want you to take a loan out on that, so you can never get out of debt.
Yep.
So if you're a banker, I'm sorry, but that's just how capitalism works. They want you to stay in debt. Your credit card wants you to stay in debt.
Exactly.
They don't want you to pay anything off.
The minimum payment.
Even colleges, they sign you up in colleges. That's one of the first things they do. The first year, you get a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You walk out of your high school and they're like, "Do you want to go into debt?" And you're like, "I don't really know." And
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
But they also mentioned not only new educators, but also out of towners, people who are moving into the area. So, I mean, that's great as well.
I think it's a great initiative. And I caught myself a little bit misspeaking. They're not currently building it. They're right now in a feasibility process. So they're being assisted by the Dogwood Health Trust out of Asheville, which is an organization that is helping Burke County Public Schools see if this is even feasible, see how much they would be able to charge rent. They're trying to make it as low as possible while still getting somewhat of a return on their investment. And they're seeing if they're going to be able to make this happen. And I really hope that they do. They have a lot of great ideas about it too. And if you can see the school, it's a beautiful place.
It is.
It's a really great area.
I know he mentioned they were working with the architect at the moment, and
yeah.
they would convert the cafeteria, the gym, like all of that would become apartments. I guess.
And it's
Living
already
spaces.
school property.
Yeah.
It kind of connects
Exactly.
the two together.
And it's taking a building. It didn't have, and it did still provide some use. The police department would conduct active shooter drills and canine training there, but not all the time. You know, they were not constantly occupying this building, and it's a great space. And I just think it's a great example of how you can reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Yeah.
Remember your 3 R's.
It was also personally just a really neat experience to go into a school building that's basically abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very eerie for everything to be out of place and.
Oh, I hear a ghost story, a ghost segment coming.
I think I did talk to Grace. Didn't I say something about that while we were on site?
I think you did.
gosh.
It was
Okay.
Halloween too.
It was.
So.
Oh, okay, there we go.
But also, a part I didn't get to see of the school that I really wanted to see was the basement, which is apparently where all the instruments were. So I really wanted to go down there and see the old band and orchestra room, but we didn't do that.
We know you would have loved that.
Mhm.
All right, switching gears, we had a singer-songwriter in a couple weeks ago.
I let in that. I knew you were doing it.
Bailey Marie Griggs.
Very, very
And
talented.
Yeah, she goes by Bailey Marie, very talented. She sang a couple of her songs in here that have not been put out to the public, and so she did a great job.
Yes.
Great job.
With Bailey, I really enjoyed recording her. The music she did Hit and Run, and then she did Cold Hands, right? Those are the right names? Okay. And if you want to hear those recordings that we made right here, they are in her YouTube video. I'm pretty sure I can put the link on the screen. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, if you want to hear those, it's at the end of that music video, both right in a row. I'm going to brag on myself. I did good. They sound good.
It was amazing. I love the song Hit and Run she did. I think that was our second musical artist in the Wise News Network
Yeah.
studio, I believe. And what really struck out to me about Bailey Marie is she was booked, I think at the age of 10, to perform in New York at the
Yeah.
Apollo Theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
It's insane. She's performed at the Apollo 3 times, I think, which is just, you know, some people spend their entire life training and preparing to get to that point. And so to see someone so young be able to succeed at such an early age, honestly, it's inspiring. I think it's really cool.
And also an actor also.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she had to sing the national anthem in one of the movies, and she said she sang it over 100 times for 100 takes.
Yes.
That is crazy. They usually, voice over that stuff or sound over it, and this to sing a song over 100 times.
Yeah.
That's how she learned it.
Yep. Like she says, perfect now.
And she's got to meet a lot of really cool people. My personal favorite, she's met Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Yeah.
so crazy. That is so insane. She actually works with the producer who also produces for Dolly. So it almost felt like you were meeting Dolly Parton when you're meeting Bailey.
Dolly's
Amazing.
hot right now in media because she's come out with the Rock album, I think, and then
She also did the halftime show at one of the Thanksgiving football games.
had the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader outfit on.
She looked fantastic. I could not believe how great Dolly looked during doing that show.
Yeah.
She looked
And her
amazing.
husband, you never see him. He hauls gravel or something. He really does. He doesn't go to any shows. He doesn't go to any awards. He kind of stays in the background and does his thing. And I think they've been married for a long time, but you never hear anything about him.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I know that she said that Dolly signed both of her guitars. Her
Yep.
first one she ever learned to train on, and her current guitar that she uses to perform.
Yeah.
That's one thing I regret not getting any B-roll of. I didn't realize it while she was in the studio that Dolly's signature was on the side of the guitar she was playing, but it's on this part of the
I
body.
looked
of the
on
guitar.
top. So it was on the side.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
her arm was on it.
That's why I
also.
didn't
Yes.
see it. Okay. But yeah, Bailey Marie, she goes by Bailey Marie as an artist, but her name is Bailey Marie Griggs from Gastonia, North
If you're looking
Carolina.
for an acting profile, look for Bailey Marie Griggs. If you're looking for music, Bailey Marie.
And she
Correct.
still lives in Gastonia.
Yes, she
Correct.
does.
And she's got a few events coming up soon. So if you're interested in hearing Bailey Marie, I would strongly recommend checking her out live. We can put something up on the
Yes,
screen.
we can. It's coming this December in Charlotte. Can't remember the day right now. I think it might be the 15th, but not 100% sure.
Something in January and something in December. Yeah. But look, if you will, just look at our segments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe right now our segments are the only places you can hear Cold Hands and Hit and Run.
As far as I know.
So if you want some unreleased.
Yeah, we have to watch music because if we put any kind of background music or anything, the YouTube and Facebook police and, the artists restricted, the lawyers are after us. So we got to watch what we play.
It'll be flagged so quick.
Yeah. It's flagged before the video even gets uploaded
Exactly.
on YouTube.
Yeah. Next is the NASCAR Dash Series or the Dash Series that we filmed a couple weeks ago in Charlotte, North Carolina at Hendrick Motorsports. And I had a great time doing it because I drove in the Dash Series for a few years and saw a lot of people I haven't seen in many years. My engine builder was there. I just saw a lot of neat people. And it was a long interview. We probably interviewed a dozen people, Grace and myself, and we cut it into 4 segments.
And the first 2 are out. I'm not going to make promises. Never mind.
Don't ever set a deadline.
But you can view part 1 and part 2 at the moment.
Yes.
On our YouTube channel.
And hey, I will make a promise here though. If you guys will get this video up to 50 likes, I'll release Rusty's unreleased footage from the dash cam whenever he got into a wreck.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know what you were doing there. Yeah, I've had a few wrecks. Yeah, I've got my bell rung a few times. Yeah, Bristol had a concussion in Bristol. So, but a lot of fun. Racing was a lot of fun. But when I raced, it was dangerous. There's a lot of drivers getting killed, and I was down at Daytona testing an ARCA car, right before Earnhardt got killed. And so it was really dangerous back when I was running. We didn't have all the safety barrier walls and the equipment that they have now.
I mean, one of the NASCAR stars that we talked to, or you interviewed, Rusty, Danny Bagwell, he had one of, I'm not a viewer of NASCAR regularly, but watching the footage of his crash, I thought it was a miracle that he made it out of that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. He just crawls out and is generally not hurt.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny about crashes is the barrel rolls, and long as the inertia is still going, what really gets drivers is the sudden stoppage. So when they're barrel rolling, it's hard on the body, but it's not as bad as a solid contact stoppage. It's like Earnhardt. Earnhardt's wreck didn't look that bad, but it was that impact. So the barrel rolling it looks bad on TV, but a lot of times it's not as bad on the driver
True.
as you think.
Because every time the car sheds a piece of the body, it's losing inertia and slowing down.
But yeah, they put that event on as the second one. I don't know if they're going to have any more. They said they might space them out more, but the Goodies Dash Series is what I raced in when Goodies took it over. So if you haven't seen those segments, check them out. It's good. It's back when I raced and some of the other drivers, and a lot of the Cup drivers raced in it, and some Busch drivers. So check it out.
And right now, I'll say the drivers that we've got out are Kelly Sutton, Danny Bagwell, and BJ Mackey. Am I missing any drivers from the videos that we got out? I'm pretty sure those are all the
so
drivers.
far, I think that's right. Yeah. And then
So-
Jan Smith was our engine builder. He
Yes.
was there. He was the best dressed.
Yes, he was.
With his snakeskin boots
He
and the
looked
cowboy
very
hat.
snazzy.
Leather cowboy hat.
But yeah, it was a pretty good crowd. Enjoyed that. And I hope you guys enjoy it because that's part of racing. It used to be the third tier of NASCAR, was the Goodies Dash. And when the trucks came along, the Dash kind of faded away.
Yeah. Also, it's had a few names. It started in the 80s, right?
Yeah, mid-70s.
Or mid 70s, and it's had a few different names along the way.
Baby Grand before it was the Goodies Dash, or was there something in between?
It's Baby Grand, then it was the Charlotte Dash,
yeah.
Darlington Dash, Daytona Dash. It's always held the Dash. That's why they call it the Dash reunion instead of the NASCAR Dash. But NASCAR took it over, and then when NASCAR took it over, it really propelled that series up. And I raced it in a few years, then raced in some the Winston Racing Series too. I raced there, and then the ARCA, test ARCA car. Then I kept one of the Busch cars, which is in the back there. I just kept it. It's this cool conversation. Race cars eat money. That's the best race cars I've ever had. It just sits back there and looks pretty.
And it is pretty.
We could have heisted one of the engines and got it running.
Oh, I'd like to have one of those. Yeah. No, if we put an engine in, then I'd be ready to go racing. So.
We'll put an engine and we'll put one of the monitors from the rest of the company vehicles in it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I don't know, y'all. I've heard rumors that y'all don't score too well on those company driving monitors.
No, we're blaming it on the Interstate 85.
Yes.
That's fair.
It
That's
checks
fair.
our braking and speed and 85 from Gastonia to Charlotte is a racetrack, and the speed limit was 65.
It is 65.
If you go 65, they'll run you over.
Exactly.
Yes, they will.
Yeah.
And that's just
The way it is.
Yeah, that's a crazy area right there. You go and they backs up at Ranlow. I don't know what it is, but it backs up every morning there.
I do not drive the vehicle.
Now we had the CHS Cherryville High School Career Day.
Yes, and that was with Scott Hevner. He's the one who puts it on. He is as I had to go through multiple times today, he is Cherryville High School's CTE Career Development Director. There's his title. And apparently they've been doing it for 2 years now. It's the second year. So it was actually a really good turnout for only being the second year. I think was it 16 booths?
Yeah.
We had the Cherryville City there in all forms, like utility workers, the fire department, the police department. We had 2 electricians, Mr. Sparky and Dellinger Electric. Piedmont Lithium was there.
Insurance company, I
Yeah.
think. I didn't go. but
Erie
y'all-
Insurance.
Okay. And
then Sundrop.
Oh, wow.
The distribution company over Sundrop was there. So I'm not exactly sure it's a part of Dr. Pepper, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think Dr. Pepper bought it and Cheerwine. I could be wrong there. I'm going to look later. I'll correct myself in the banner if I'm wrong there, but I think Dr. Pepper owns it.
Or if you know, correct it in the comments.
Oh, yeah, do that. Do
Yeah. Because what we talk about here may not always be correct because we're winging it. We have no
Yeah.
script. We have nothing to guide us. We're just winging it, so to speak. But we like to talk about what we've been up to. And we're working on a ton of stories. It's just that we haven't released them all.
Yeah.
And the research takes time. What else we got? Like the Piedmont Lithium story. That's an ongoing story. It's a lot of technical research, and it's that story. There's going to be multiple stories come out about that, and they're doing a good job at their PR. And I still going through the state process, the permitting, and that's where we are on that.
Yeah.
We did have an interesting situation with them to where they just cut the interview off because they didn't like who we talked about or asked. Sometimes they don't like the questions we ask, and I'm a digger. I mean, I'm a logic analyzer, and when I ask a question, I like to get an answer.
Yeah. And me doing this was a joke, audience, by the way. It refers to something that happened that day. But one of my biggest problems whenever we went to that was them deflecting. Because sometimes they were answering, but they weren't really giving us an answer to the question we asked. And if they don't have the information, just say, I don't have that information. Don't tie it back to a different thing. Because
Media training.
it's their media training, and I'm just not a fan of it. How they react to
Well,
things.
I was going as a news. I had a news badge on, but I was also going as a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some interesting things in the ground around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's got high concentrations of radon, concentrations of uranium, arsenic. There's a lot of stuff in the ground. And, I found out this week that 2 friends that I know have cancer. And it's just what's causing all this cancer. And there's a good bit in the Cherryville area. And if you look at the vein of spodumene and radon, they kind of overlap each other. And I'm not saying that that's what's causing the cancer around here, but I don't know. I don't think there's been enough information out about the mine itself.
There's really not, but I can call back to the Holman Beam mine because my dad worked there. He had a lot of friends and family work there. And while this is nothing official, Dad does seem to think that most of the people who worked there ended up getting cancer, which I know cancer, most people are going to end up with it at some point in their life, whether it's skin cancer or something less benign. But it just seems like a lot of people that worked in the other lithium mine around here ended up sickly, which I know that was back in the 70s. We're 50 years more advanced. Hopefully the technology's there to protect the employees. But we just want to see proof that it is.
Yeah, and I just asked, it's going to be the largest open pit lithium mine in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me an example of another lithium open pit mine with population around it? No.
It's
Like, okay, I mean, it's not a silver or copper mine where you can go swimming afterwards.
That's another big question. What happens next? After it's all done, what happens next?
well,
We've heard some of the, I guess, ideas. I think they mentioned a park.
Filling it in. At the town hall meeting, they did have a booth set up talking about potential ideas for filling it up, and the fact that once they fill it up, the fact that people will be able to continue to use the area potentially. I think that eases my brain some. That eases my worries, because if they're going to fill it up and still allow people to continue to use that space for whatever it is they choose to do with it, I think that that's in the right direction. And they definitely have talked about safeguards, making sure that they're testing wells. They've definitely talked about a lot of safeguards. But one of the reasons why this investigation is taking a while is because, as a journalist, I don't feel comfortable reporting on anything unless I feel like I'm an expert. I don't feel like I'm an expert on lithium mining. I don't necessarily even consider myself an expert of what Piedmont Lithium is doing. And so right now I am doing my due diligence to understand the process, understand the concerns, the potential toxins, the potential community impacts before we release something concrete. Because we're also kind of like in law, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. And I take that very to heart in my job as well. I'm not going into an investigation to say, oh, I'm condemning you for X, Y, and Z. I'm going into an investigation thinking, what can I do to help this community? What answers need to be answered for community members to feel at ease with this situation? So we're all trying to do that, and you'll hear more news soon.
Yeah, and this area has a high concentration of radon.
Yes, it does.
It does, and I know it's odorless, clear. You can't see it, but it gets trapped, especially in confined spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you open up the earth, what are you opening up humans to? That's what I think everyone wants to know. It could be all fine and safe, or 50 years from now, they could say, "What were those people thinking?" Yeah, kind of like cell phone up to you.
They're
Was that
thinking-
good? Probably not.
Probably not, right?
They're thinking a couple $1 billion sounds good.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, a lot of decisions are made about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all about money.
This is interesting too. Just in doing the research on Piedmont Lithium, I just feel like I should speak about this because we have a camera rolling right now and we have a platform to do so. Piedmont Lithium has a deal with Tesla, and a lot of other companies that work with Tesla building their batteries. What goes into a lithium car battery? Cobalt does. And right now there is an insane humanitarian crisis happening in the Congo where they're essentially using slave labor to mine the cobalt that is going into these electric vehicles. I mean, they're going into your phones, they're going into your basically any device that you could imagine that has a battery. Cobalt is in it. And I've just kind of started doing a little bit of research on it. But I really think as a society, we need to understand that everything we do, even if there's good intentions, there's always consequences. The intentions behind electric vehicles are to help our environment ultimately. But what environments are you disrupting in that process? And I think it's a big thought that we need to consider, because I don't think that anyone anywhere deserves to be forced to work in horrible conditions and dying in their job, which is happening in the Congo right now. So it's just a little food for thought.
Yeah, one thing I did ask one of the geologists there's a lot of mining happening in Australia. And I forgot the name of the mine, and I mentioned, how does that compare to the vein? Like the vein in Australia, how does that compare to the vein in Gaston County? And parts of, I guess, Lincoln, maybe. Does it go into Lincoln and maybe a little bit into Cleveland County? But it was like, 10 to 36 inch vein versus 100 feet vein. It was just so, the vein was so larger in Australia than here. And it's like here, they're going to have to really dig down deeper and wider to get them out that they need. Whereas in Australia, they don't, it's more plentiful, is how he explained it to me. And maybe that's why they don't want to talk to us. I don't know, but I mean, it was just weird. And I was trying to talk to the explosive guy, and he's like, "I can't talk to you." I said, "Why?" I mean, he actually said that.
He did. He said he can't talk to us because we're the news, and he would have to get Aaron's permissions first.
And she said, "Yeah, sure." We walked over there. And it wasn't nothing malicious, and I just had questions.
Yeah, I think that is pretty classic, though. As a business owner, I wouldn't want a representative who is not a part of my company speaking on behalf of my company. I think that...
Yeah, but even the Piedmont employees wouldn't talk to us. They said, "Oh, you have to go talk to Aaron. You had to go talk to Aaron." I mean, that's like, I'm asking you a question. You're here for air quality, and you can't tell me about air quality. I don't know.
PR person.
I mean, after 5 or 6 people says, "I don't know," it's like, okay. And then the president wouldn't talk to us. Mm-mm. He was there. It's a town hall for communication, and he wouldn't talk.
After they got upset with us, there was basically an emergency meeting. I'm not going to say they're lying per se about that happening, but that was convenient.
Well, anyway, we're here not to destroy any one person. We're here to shed light on things that normally you wouldn't hear. and stories that you normally wouldn't hear, investigations that you normally wouldn't hear of, and
Events
that's
that
our
you
job.
may not know
Events,
about.
yeah. And speaking of events, we'll change the subject to downtown Cherryville, and we have Whoville coming up this Friday.
So exciting.
I'm using the John picture.
And I'm sure you guys have seen downtown. It is so beautiful right now.
Gorgeous.
I just love riding through at night.
Yeah, the downtown looks great. A lot of good Christmas lights. The bridge, they decorated the bridge, and that's the greatest thing since sliced bread, according to social media. But it looks good at night, and Cherryville should be proud of how it looks. And the Whoville's always interesting. We covered that last year, and so Whoville is Friday from like 6 to 10, I think it is.
And so many people show up. To
Oh,
Whoville,
yeah.
So it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's this Friday, December the 1st.
Yes, it is.
And if Mason does his job, it'll be out before. This segment will be out before that. And then we have the parade coming up.
Yes.
And we're all going to do the parade.
If you want one of these chucked at you, come find us at the parade.
Yeah.
And they do have a function. It's actually
A
kind of a
stress
stress
ball.
ball. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
ripped the heads off
Yeah, it's
quite
a-
a few.
Yeah, it's a stress ball.
Yes, but we will be in attendance, in the parade, throwing out some goodies. So definitely come and meet us. We love meeting you guys and talking to you guys. And, just thank you for supporting us always.
And the parade is going to be backwards this year. You line up on First Street, go over the overhead bridge, and then come down Main Street from the west side.
Oh, okay.
So it's backwards. And they said the viewing will only be from Main Street. It's basically the same route. It's just kind of
going up,
backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really know the reason of that, but I'm sure there's a good reason for that. Something different, but I guess maybe it's from a organization standpoint, maybe it's easier. I don't know. So if you're looking for the parade to come from the east, it's coming from the west.
Kind of makes sense. Makes downtown kind of the exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
they're all the way down Main Street and back to
Exactly.
the old Harris Teeter Pizza Hut area. But yeah, that's coming up December the 9th at 10:30, Saturday at 10:30, and hopefully the rain will hold off. But we're in a weather pattern now that's probably going to rain every few days. It's going to be cold, and they're calling for a very rainy winter and average temperatures. So we may see some snow. We haven't had much snow around.
Honestly, we could use the precipitation with the burn bans, the drought, everything that was going on. I think we talked a little bit about how dry it was in the last one. We have gotten rain, luckily.
Also, if you're in Gaston County, the burn ban was lifted last Friday. So you're good now.
Light your
Okay.
fires.
And so now we get weather reports on Wise News as well.
Yeah, we need a weatherman,
Yeah.
sportsman.
We've got it all.
But it takes a lot of work. It really does a lot behind the scenes. Just to put a video out, it takes a lot of work and it takes a team effort. So I appreciate everybody watching. And that's about all the topics that we have for today.
That is.
And I hope everyone has a happy holiday season. But I think we'll probably have another one of these hopefully before Christmas, and definitely by the first of the year. And so we're working on a lot of different stories, and we really appreciate all the fans watching.
And let us know, should we wear Santa hats in the next one?
With the owl mask.
With the owl mask? I don't know. Y'all might have to.
I don't know. That the owl masks are creepy enough.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And don't forget about the merch. Go to our website. It's in the store, and wear the merch.
Yeah, so if you have someone who loves our content, this is the perfect Christmas gift, the holiday bundle, all for a low price, and it's great quality. Support us. If you enjoy watching those videos without ads, definitely check it out.
Yeah, and we'll probably have more merch coming, but we have to start somewhere. So we started with T-shirts, hat, Stress Mike, and if you order, every order gets a free sticker, 3x3 sticker, indoor, outdoor rated.
Yep. One's on the back of me and Grace's cars. So
Yeah.
they stick. They're good.
Through all the conditions.
Yes, they do.
Well, that's a wrap for Who Gives a Hoot number 6. I'm Rusty Wise.
I'm Mason Beam.
I'm Jermaine Gash.
I'm Grace Smith.
Have a great day.